Breaking news: Israel has just carried out a powerful strike on a missile production facility in eastern Lebanon, sending shockwaves across the region. This attack is not just another headline. It could change the entire balance of power in the Middle East. Stay tuned, because we are about to break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and what this means for the future of Israel-Lebanon tensions. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is one of the most significant developments in the Middle East this month. Reports confirm that Israel has launched a targeted airstrike against a missile manufacturing site located in eastern Lebanon. According to early details, the facility was believed to be producing advanced precision-guided missiles, potentially capable of striking deep inside Israeli territory. This move is being described by Israeli officials as a preemptive strike meant to neutralize a major threat before it could grow any larger. Lebanon, meanwhile, has strongly condemned the attack, calling it an act of aggression and a violation of sovereignty. The situation is extremely tense, and analysts are already warning that this could escalate into a larger confrontation if either side decides to retaliate further. In today's video, we'll go step by step through what happened, examine expert opinions, and explore the potential consequences for regional security. Grab a seat, because this is going to be a deep dive into the story that everyone is talking about right now. Let's start by looking closely at what happened during the strike itself. According to military sources, the attack took place late at night, minimizing civilian casualties, but maximizing the impact on the targeted facility. Satellite imagery from local monitoring groups shows heavy damage to multiple structures within the compound. Witnesses on the ground reported hearing at least 3 large explosions, followed by a series of secondary blasts, likely caused by munitions stored at the site. The precision of the strike suggests that Israel had detailed intelligence about the location and nature of the facility, possibly gathered through drones, satellite surveillance, or even human intelligence sources inside Lebanon. This level of accuracy is consistent with previous Israeli operations aimed at disrupting weapons shipments and production sites linked to Hezbollah. It is worth noting that Israel rarely comments on its operations, but this time, a senior Israeli defense official publicly stated that the strike was necessary to prevent what they described as a strategic threat from developing just across their border. Moving on, we need to discuss why this particular facility was such a big deal for Israel. Over the past few years, Hezbollah has been steadily working to upgrade its missile arsenal, shifting from unguided rockets to precision-guided munitions capable of hitting key infrastructure inside Israel. These weapons represent a significant escalation in the threat level because they can strike military bases, airports, and even power plants with far greater accuracy than older models. Israeli defense doctrine has always emphasized preemptive action when faced with an existential threat, and this appears to be a textbook case of that approach. Experts believe that if Hezbollah had been allowed to mass produce these missiles, the strategic balance between the two sides would have tilted dramatically, increasing the likelihood of a devastating conflict in the future. By striking now, Israel is trying to maintain its qualitative edge and send a clear message that it will not allow such capabilities to grow unchecked. However, this also raises the risk of retaliation, as Hezbollah has repeatedly stated that any Israeli attack on Lebanese soil would be met with a response. The next important point is the potential political impact of this strike within Lebanon itself. Lebanon is currently going through one of the worst economic crises in its history, with a collapsing currency, widespread poverty, and a government struggling to maintain control. This attack puts Lebanese authorities in a very difficult position. On one hand, they are under pressure from the population to defend national sovereignty and respond to what is seen as an Israeli violation. On the other hand, open confrontation with Israel could lead to devastating consequences for an already fragile state. Hezbollah, as a major political and military force in Lebanon, is likely to use this attack as further justification for maintaining its arsenal and refusing calls for disarmament. This could deepen internal divisions within Lebanon, as some factions want to avoid war at all costs, while others support a stronger stance against Israel. The coming days will likely see heated debates in Beirut as the government and Hezbollah decide how to respond. International reaction to the strike has also been swift. The United Nations has expressed concern over the escalation and called for restraint on all sides. The United States, a close ally of Israel, has so far refrained from condemning the strike, instead emphasizing Israel's right to defend itself against threats. Meanwhile, Iran, Hezbollah's main backer, has strongly condemned the attack, calling it an act of state terrorism and warning of consequences. This diplomatic tug of war highlights the broader regional context of the conflict, where every move is interpreted not just as a local skirmish, but as part of a much larger geopolitical game. Russia and China have also weighed in, criticizing Israel's actions and urging respect for Lebanese sovereignty. These reactions show how an event like this can quickly become an international flashpoint, drawing in multiple global powers and raising the stakes far beyond the immediate battlefield. Now, let's talk about the possible military scenarios going forward. If Hezbollah decides to retaliate, it could do so in several ways: by firing rockets into northern Israel, attacking Israeli positions along the border, or even attempting a targeted drone strike. Israel would almost certainly respond forcefully to any such attacks, and this could spiral into a full-blown conflict similar to the 2006 war, which left large parts of Lebanon in ruins. Military analysts say that both sides are preparing for such a scenario, but neither is eager to escalate to that level unless they feel they have no choice. Israel's calculation is that by striking now, they are deterring Hezbollah from pursuing its missile program any further. But deterrence is never guaranteed, and there is always a risk that the other side will feel compelled to respond in order to save face. Another dimension we cannot ignore is how this strike might affect Israeli domestic politics. The Israeli government has been under pressure due to security concerns, political rivalries, and public protests over various issues. A successful military operation like this can boost public confidence and rally support around the government, at least in the short term. However, if the situation escalates into a wider war, it could backfire politically by exposing civilians to rocket attacks and creating economic disruption. This is why Israeli leaders must carefully manage both the military and political aspects of this crisis, balancing deterrence with the need to avoid a prolonged conflict. We should also look at how this incident fits into the broader regional picture. The Middle East is currently experiencing multiple overlapping crises, from the war in Gaza to tensions in the Red Sea and ongoing instability in Syria. This Israeli strike could have ripple effects in all these theaters as various actors adjust their strategies based on what just happened. For example, Iran might decide to increase its support for Hezbollah as a way of signaling defiance, while Gulf Arab states that oppose Iranian influence might quietly welcome Israel's move as a check on Hezbollah's power. These complex dynamics make it difficult to predict exactly what will happen next, but one thing is clear: this story is far from over. Finally, let's discuss what this means for ordinary people living in the region. For Israelis living near the northern border, there is growing anxiety about the possibility of rocket attacks. Many are stocking up on supplies and staying alert for emergency warnings. In Lebanon, civilians near the strike site are dealing with the aftermath of the explosions, including property damage and fear of further attacks. Both populations are essentially caught in the middle of a conflict driven by larger geopolitical forces beyond their control. This human dimension is often overlooked in news coverage, but it is perhaps the most important aspect of all, because at the end of the day, it is ordinary people who pay the price for these clashes. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining whether this remains a limited confrontation or escalates into something much bigger. All eyes are on Hezbollah's next move and Israel's readiness to respond. Diplomats are working behind the scenes to prevent a wider war. But history has shown that in this part of the world, even small miscalculations can have massive consequences. This is why international observers are calling for calm and urging all parties to avoid further provocations. For now, the strike has succeeded in damaging a major missile production facility, but whether it has succeeded in deterring future threats remains to be seen.